Live, Chairman.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Performance, Governance and Audit Committee on Thursday, the 28th of September 2023. My name is Councillor Vanessa Bell, and I am the chairman of this committee. We do just have a few housekeeping issues to run through. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak, and I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the cameras and live stream. And please note that the YouTube live stream recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when you've finished. Please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers, and please keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. We have a full house, members, tonight, which is lovely to see, so no apologies. So moving on to minutes of the last meeting. So it is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of July 2023, found on pages 5 to 10, are approved as a true and accurate record, apart from the imaginary people that apparently attended. We did not have Councillor Pratt or Councillor Stamp at the meeting. We had Councillor Bown substituting for Councillor Pratt, and I believe Councillor Stamp, was it Councillor Lagan for you? Yes, it was. Are there any other matters? Oh, sorry, I've skipped forward. I so moved. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any other matters of accuracy from those meeting minutes? No? Okay. So can we agree to those being correct with the amendments stated? Agreed. Super. Thank you. Matters arising.
Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Committee
did I
Clerk?
hear you say with the amendment stated?
With the amendment
Okay.
stated, yes. I did say that, didn't I?
What amendment? Sorry, can I just clarify what amendment?
Yes, sorry. Councillor Pratt and Councillor Stamp were not attending at the meeting, and Councillor Bown and Councillor Lagan were there instead.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Super, thank you. Item 4, it's recommended that the matters arising from the minutes of the meeting held on 27th of July, found on pages 11 to 12, are noted. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Okay. Do we agree, members, by assent? Yep, lovely. Thank you. Item 5, disclosure of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, I always struggle with that, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. And members are reminded that they're also required to disclose any such interest as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. Any declarations of interest, members? No. Marvellous. And we have no public participation under item 6, as far as I understand. Am I correct, Committee Clerk?
That's correct, yes.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us on to item 7, which is review of corporate performance for quarter 1. And you can find this on pages 13 to 52. I shall hand over to Ms Hughes to present the report. Ms Hughes, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. So following a new corporate plan for Maldon being adopted on the 22nd of February 2023, this is the first time the committee is seeing the rebuild of the corporate performance reporting to reflect the new key performance indicators, also known as KPIs, which have been mapped to delivery. Some of the performance indicators are under development, but the performance specialist has worked hard to complete this rebuild for quarter 1, making sure that we report back to keep to the PGA schedule. And the report follows the draft that the committee members fed back in on the 20th of June workshop session. The data presented reflects quarter 1 which is April to June 2023. Section 3.1 of the covering report, which is found at page 13 of your agenda pack, highlights the high-level view for each corporate priority. At this stage, work for all priorities is broadly on track, but there are conditional elements which are flagging in the themes of supporting our communities, enhancing and connecting the place, and smarter finances. The full set of KPI data is then set out in Appendix 1, which is found on pages 15 to 52 of your agenda packs, and that's what informs the priority views. Members are invited to review and feedback on the corporate performance report and confirm assurance of effective performance management. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other officers wish to comment? No? Okay, so the recommendation is found on page 13, and that is little 1, that members review the information as set out in this report in Appendix 1, with priority focus given to the strategic priority level performance. Little 2, that members confirm that they are assured through this review that corporate performance is being managed effectively. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I can already see Councillor Stilts and Councillor Stamp's hands shoot up. So, over to you. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to say how nice this new performance thing looks. Sorry.
I'm glad it's not just me.
It's a long day. It's been a long day. It is an awful lot clearer than what we've had before, and it actually is easier to read. I'd also like to draw people's attention to page 30. And on page 30, we talk about the tourism, and the tourism group has successfully secured funding to deliver an internal project. I believe that was the Walking Festival that actually was greatly received and
Brilliant
was
event.
really, really good. So I would like to express my thanks to Miss Cable and Miss Cordless for all the work that they put into arranging that. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to echo that. I mean, from everything I've heard, it was an absolutely superb event. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Stilts. Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, thank you. Totally agree with the forms. My eyes are not suffering like they normally do after looking at things. No, seriously, I do have problems with them, and that's why they've worked really hard with us to do the colours and everything. My query is on page 48. Miss Green, as normal, I'm going to ask, where is she? Is she here?
She's here.
Oh, I knew you. I thought I'd seen you. The phone inquiries, the channel source for inquiries, it says about the phone, 8% to 26,248 people who phone. Do we know, these are the inquiries that have been successfully dealt with? Do we know the ones that possibly get fed up and put the phone down before they get a response? Do you record that data, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we do. The system records that. There is a very small number of abandoned calls, and that can be for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's because we have pre-recorded information, and so the customer, after hearing that, may well hang up. They may, they may transfer to an automated telephone line. Equally, they may hang up because they don't want to wait. But when we look at the response times, our response times are very, very low at the moment. So the numbers of customers that will be hanging up as a result of the length of time will be of a very small number.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you record that data? Is that somewhere on behind the on a different form or a different SharePoint, or how this council records the actual exact data? Because sadly, this council actually sent us all a link to do a data LGA course, and that was actually one of the things that was raised. And I thought, rather than it go to waste, let's actually just use what we're being taught and ask the relevant questions. So Is there a system that we operate within this council that records to that level of information that can be accessed if needs to be accessed? Because we don't want the data skewed.
No, absolutely. So any calls that are abandoned are separately identified.
And may we have that information in some format, please?
So yes, the data is recorded, and yes, it is available, and yes, we can share that.
Marvellous. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other questions or yes, Councillor Burwood.
Just comment on page 18 under supporting our communities. That first section there, I don't know if it's just me, but some KPIs are still to be started, plans, however, plans in place. Does that read right? Doesn't read right to me, but anyway. What I'm really interested in is the next bit down. It says the things to be started in September. There's a couple of comments there. I'm just interested to find out whether they have actually been started. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms Hughes, I think that's... Is it back to you?
I think either Leandra or Paul might be more informed on that particular activity. Is that the youth engagement programme?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. I know there are some challenges around officer availability at the moment, so I'm not sure what level of assurance we could provide around that starting in September.
Yes, Leander, thank you. Sorry, Ms Cable, sorry.
Yes, not a problem. So I do have an update from the officer who's out of the office at the minute. So the youth engagement programme is being delivered in partnership with Essex Youth Service. At present, we support to deliver the programme at Ormiston Rivers and Plume Academies. That's both secondary schools in the district. The programme will be launched in October 2023, so work's well underway to begin the delivery of that. Will be delivered on a bi-monthly basis. It will aim to provide students in the local area with opportunities to engage with the community and make a positive difference. The programme is open to all students at both schools, and they can choose to participate in a variety of activities such as support volunteering in the local communities, attend workshops and training sessions on topics such as health and wellbeing, community safety and climate change, and organising and running their own projects and events in the community with the support of Essex Youth Service. At the end of the engagement programme, the vision is to create a Maldon District Youth Forum, which will be a way for young people to have a say in decisions that affect their lives and to make a positive impact on their communities.
Thank you. I'm just going to come in there if I may, because my understanding is this has kind of come out that there is no longer the Essex Forum, the Youth Strategy Group, and that this is somehow a more local replacement for that. So I'm really hoping that all the work and all the young people that were engaged as part of that programme won't be lost, because we had a huge amount of engagement from young people across the district in that, and I'm hoping that that won't disappear and that we don't find ourselves having to reinvent the wheel. So I will be talking to, and I'm now having that name thing where I can't remember a name, the Youth Commissioning Officer, Councillor Stamp, you'll know. This Cable, help me out. Lauren
Green.
That's right, yeah. So and rest assured, youth is one of my main areas of interest, so I'll be making sure that that happens. Did you want to come back? I've got you, Councillor Sam. Did you want to come back?
Yes, please. You say it's mainly revolving around the Plume and Ormiston Academy. What happens with all those young people who are in with other schools across the district? Because, as we know, school places in the district are rare, and people are being shipped out left, right and centre. So I want to make sure that it's not just for the children or the young people at those schools.
I mean, I know that certainly the previous work involved a lot of detached youth work and various other programmes, things like skateboard and BMX activity days. So I'm hoping we'll have the same sort of things available, will we, Ms Cable?
I can ask Mr Fulcher for an update on that and circulate to members. Of course, Councillor Burwood, we do have lots of neighbouring schools that people either choose to send their children, shall I say, not their students, their children to. So, as part of an inclusive offer, I can speak to Mr Fulcher and ask him to provide an update on that specific aspect for you.
Thank you, and I'm very keen that we include what I referred to as hard to reach young people who are perhaps not in school, who are perhaps looked after, those young people that wouldn't necessarily be engaging through the formal channels, we need to be looking at for provision for them as well. So
Just one final point.
one more.
Schools are very scary places for lots of young people to go into, even for a fun activity. So we need to make sure that some of this activity is not just delivered within the schools, but externally.
Absolutely, Councillor Burwood. Councillor Stamp, please.
Can I just declare an interest as an Essex County Councillor? We're actually looking at, because Essex County Council has doesn't no longer support the youth service as it did. We are actually looking at our district with Councillor Durham and Councillor Fleming. We are actually looking at engaging with, I think the gentleman's name is Roy, to deliver some of the, what we call is the urgent subjects that need to be covered. Because they go in and they do the knife crime and all that sort of thing. So we're at the moment, Madam Chair, putting a package together that we can support from an Essex County Council's point of view to fund it, but it is going to go to those schools. It isn't going to go, as far as I'm aware, I can ask Roy, because that's the proposal we're at the moment trying to put together. They delivered it last year when it came under Essex umbrella. It was well received.
Very well received.
And we've also asked if it could be considered a younger age group as well, because it always seems to focus on, is it year 10s and 11s? And I think nowadays we only have to look what's going on in society, and I think we need to be preparing certain elements of these programmes they put on for the other children. But I will raise your point, and I think it's an excellent one at the next meeting we have regarding the possible funding. So
thank you. And perhaps Councillor Stamp, you and I could talk separately about this, because you know it's an area of interest and concern for me. And I will say again that since 2010 we have seen a 73% cut in youth service. 73% since 2010. We all know what happened then, don't we? Moving swiftly on. Any more questions? Or lovely. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for that. That's really, really helpful. So, can we agree, members by assent, to that? Lovely. Thank you very much. So that brings us on to agenda item 8, which is review of corporate risk Q1. You can find this on pages 53 to 70. And Ms Hughes, you're very busy this evening, so it's over to you again.
Thank you. So this report covers the first quarter of 23-24, which is April to June 2023, and the corporate risks. Appendix 1, which is found on pages 55 to 69 of your agenda packs, gives the full table of corporate risk register as at June 2023. Section 3.2 of the covering report shows you where risks have changed direction since Q4. There is one risk which has had a rating decrease since Q4, and that's R7, failure to maintain a 5-year supply of housing land. There is one risk where closure is recommended, which is R29, failure to deliver services as a result of COVID-19. There are no emerging or anticipated additional risks to report this quarter. Members are asked to review the risk register update and confirm assurance through this that corporate risk is being monitored effectively.
Thank you very much, Ms Hughes. Would any other officers like to speak? No? Super. Okay, so the recommendation is that members review the corporate risk register in Appendix 1 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. That members review progress of the corporate risk mitigating actions in Appendix 2 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. That members are assured through this review that corporate risk is being managed effectively, and that members challenge risk where the committee feels that the Council's corporate plan may not be achieved. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I will throw the floor open now for questions and comments. Yes, please. Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm referring to risk R10, which is page 64. It would be interesting perhaps to drill down into this data in the future, because the economic activity, 75.9%, about 5% lower than the East average. And I'm just wondering where that falls. I checked the definition of the measure, and it's it's working age people, 16 to 64, if I'm correct. So I'm wondering what the picture is for Maldon and whether youth unemployment is part of that picture, which I think is unlikely because I get the feeling that local businesses struggle to recruit staff.
Yeah.
But I just would like to perhaps in the future see a bit more detail as you yourselves explore that, because I can see it's a work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any officers like to come back or comment on that? Okay, well, yes, thank you, Ms. Cable.
I can provide a bit of brief context. Sometimes the specific details into what makes up those figures isn't available, as in student looking after home family, temporary sick, long-term sick, because the figures would be classified as disclosive. By its nature, we're a small district, and those numbers are relatively small in the area. And NOMIS, who are part of ONS, define it as disclosive if they were to break those numbers down specifically. Sorry.
That's helpful, thank you. Members, any other members? Yes, Councillor Stamp.
Only really that some of them have been on this risk register for God knows how long, and I know it's really tricky, and we are low on resources, and there's always some reason why we're not achieving the targets or the risks are not really decreasing. But
Yes.
the R7, page 63, which is the 5-year land supply, I'm a little bit cautious of that because I still don't think that has been tested at appeal yet. So yes, at the moment we've got it, and I'm sure at some stage it's going to be tested at appeal to see if our methodology and if our way of working it out, the people with all the money, like the developers, when they take us to an appeal, win or not. The failure to, R15, page 57, the failure to plan a delivered balanced budget over the medium term. Could I actually ask for an update on how, from the temporary section 151 officer, or sorry, Miss Lucas, I'm dreadful for, I'm tired, I've been at county, so I do apologise.
I think we're all having a bit of trouble with names this evening, Councillor Stamp.
Thank you, I do apologise, members and officers. Actually, how that is actually going, and if it's travelling in the right direction to be able to meet that challenge.
Ms. Lucas.
Please.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Stamp. Yeah, so I know you asked for this risk to be updated at the last meeting, so we have provided an updated context in terms of the work that's being undertaken to mitigate that risk. As you say, that is an ongoing process, but the finance member group has met on several occasions since the last meeting, and that work is underway and will be reported back to the next Strategy and Resources Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lucas. Councillor Stamp, come back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I actually ask how it's going to be reported? Because we all know this council for the past few years of all we've done is salami slice to actually try and reach the targets, to reduce a service, whether it be reduce a public convenience in Burnham and Maldon or whatever. So are you actually being able to, or is this group coming up with suggestions, or the council coming up with suggestions that says, if you do it this way, this is what's going to happen, and if you do it that way, and it's all going to be risk, and it's all going to be measured. So when it comes to the council, whether it comes to strategy and resources or the budget meeting, I can't remember which order it goes in, so forgive me. So the members are actually fully informed on the decisions they're going to make, because to actually achieve a budget, which we're trying to achieve, is going to be very, very difficult. I think we all know that. So I do think members, not everybody enjoys looking at figures, and not everybody understands them. So I think a lot of work needs to go behind the scenes to present and educate members. And I had a suggestion, and I don't think it's been taken up, but I do actually get used to things not being taken up. But I think it should be important that members are given a briefing from last year's accounts. And I think that should be given. It's voluntary, so if members want to attend, but I would say it would be really interesting and helpful to them to go through, I think it's 37 or 39 pages, the end of year accounts, I can't remember, but to go through it, so members have got an understanding of how a council works and what it actually means. because it's very difficult to understand, Madam Chair, if you don't understand the concept of figures, because some people enjoy English, poetry, engineering, and they don't necessarily understand spelling. Yeah, well, I'm rubbish at all that, but I just think it's a thing to think about, because we're wanting all members to work together. But if they don't understand, and it's not their fault. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that something we can look at?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Thank you. So as part of the member training group, we have said that committed to doing some member training around finances, and one of the sessions that we're planning would be around sort of understanding the financial statements and accounts in more detail. So that is an important part of understanding council finances. Obviously, the budget setting process and the sort of understanding of the management accounts, if you like, is a slightly different approach or concept to understand. But yeah, I take on board the comment, and yeah, we have got some training planned. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Councillor Stilts, please.
Well, thank you. I was just going to back what Councillor Stamp said, so thank you for that, Miss Lucas. And especially as we have an awful lot of new members on the council this year that may not be as au fait with some of the things as some of the old members. So I think it's important.
Thank you very much. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with Councillor Stamp and Councillor Stilts, and that's, I think you can't beat education and training, but I think we also need members to understand that we can't keep enhancing some of the services, no matter how much we'd like to, and no matter how much some of our residents would like us to. I mean, other than for reasons of support for people who don't have options, we just can't keep enhancing services at the expense of the majority of the district. There's only one way to keep the budget under control, and we can't just allow me slice. We also have to not look for ways to spend money. Thanks.
Difficult choices to make moving forward, members. So Councillor Stamp, before we
just one more. I just want to say I'd like to thank all the officers, because they work really hard. But affordable housing, I've forgotten his name, John Swords. John Swords. If you look at risks R33, page 61, his small team, and they are a small team, work really hard to provide social and temporary housing. We was at a meeting today at county, and there was on about their building for special, to put people in assisted living, etc. So they're trying to meet their need that way. But I just think it's really quite nice to say, well done, keep it up. And we think it is that they've got a really difficult job to try and meet the needs of our ever-growing. And we've also, and I've said this before, we are going to have to accommodate refugees, people who are coming up from, abroad in hardship, coming from war-torn countries, etc. Doesn't matter what your political view or standpoint is, they're still human beings. And I think really we need to, as a council, be looking at supporting John Swords and his team about how that can be achieved, because that risk has been on here for as long as I can remember, and I don't think I've seen that it's changed. So all officers work hard, but I think, we have to be really careful on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say I have a lot of dealings with Mr. Swords and his team, and I found them to be absolutely exceptional. I've worked with a number of local authorities and a number of housing departments, and we are very, very fortunate indeed to have Mr. Swords and his officers. Yes, of course, and then I'll come to you, Councillor Bell.
I did say everybody.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I know what you're like.
Yes, and you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. What I was actually going to say was, thank you, members, for the recognition of the work in that area. But I think it raises a point around the risks, and we work hard to mitigate all of the risks, but we're not going to eliminate those risks. They are corporate risks, and they're major risks. But I'd pay tribute to the work done around the temporary accommodation. It's a crisis across the country, and the fact that our situation isn't worsening as much as it might is to be commended for the work that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burwood, you had a question.
Thank you. Being one of those newer members, there's a lot of things on here which some of the older members may well have got a lot more knowledge about because they've been on for a long time.
Of course.
I think it'd be really useful if they were dated when they went onto that register, because it also then highlights the fact that it's there month after month or quarter after quarter. So I'd really like to see that, because that would then really sharpen the focus if we see it's been there for several years.
Thank you. I think that's a really good suggestion. I'm sure that's one we can incorporate and use in the reporting, is it? I mean, as Mr. Johnson said, there are some items that will always be there because that is the nature of the beast, but that would be helpful if we could, certainly on the ones that we can look at, eliminating.
We'll look at including when they were added to the corporate risk register where possible.
Super, thank you very much. Members, can we... hello, Councillor Stilts. One more for one
Thank
more.
you. I was just going to say, when I was the chair of PG&A, what was that, 2020, I think R7 was on the list then, so it's been on for a long, long time.
Thank you for some context there. That's helpful. Thank you. Members, can we agree the recommendations by assent? Do you need me to go over the recommendations again? No? Agreed. Super. So I think that brings us on to agenda item 9, annual governance statement update. Yep, no one's telling me I've lost myself. So Ms Hughes is still on screen. So that's on pages 71 to 74. So, Ms Hughes, over to you again, please.
Yep, so at the 27th of July meeting of the Performance Governance and Audit Committee, the annual governance statement for 22-23 was signed off. As well as commenting on our governance arrangements for last year, this document also identified further actions around best practice for governance that we could implement in 23-24. So section 3.5 of the report provides a table of those actions and an update of progress as at the end of June. 2 actions are highlighted at the bottom of the table in grey to show that they've already been completed and reported as complete. And there's a further 7 actions that are ongoing for the year that all have an update text that's been provided for members. Members are asked to review these actions and challenge where necessary.
Thank you very much, Ms Hughes. So, the recommendation, as Ms Hughes said, that the committee reviews the annual governance statements table and updates below and challenges where necessary. I so move. I'm looking at you, Councillor Thompson. Do I have a second?
Yes,
Thank
Chairman.
you. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Members, yes, Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. I was just looking at page 73, and we talk about launching a management e-learning to staff, and we're saying only 13% of staff have completed this. Can we know why that it's only 13% of the staff that have completed it? And does that also include the e-learning that the councillors have had to do as well, which I know that the cyber management is one of them that we've all had to take part. So has that been included?
Thank you. Ms Hughes, can you?
Yeah, so this training relates specifically to risk management e-learning. So it's a new module as a result of the new risk policy that was adopted this year. It's a new module that we put in place and sent out to all staff. It's the 13%, I'll have to check the dates and I can send an email around to the committee about the dates, but we haven't long launched it when that 13%. So I can give an update on the latest percentage and when it was launched. But we are doing reminder emails to the staff that haven't yet completed their risk e-learning. But quite often with a new training module, obviously it takes a little while and a few reminders to get compliance.
Thank you very much. Does that... Lovely, thank you. Any other points or questions? Yes, Councillor Stan.
Can I just have an explanation, or if somebody can explain to me when it says roll out new service plan template and SharePoint structure and monthly highlight reports to underpin 23-27 corporate plan. Reading that, obviously it's new, it's only just been started because we've only just adopted the corporate plan. Is that across the board? Because it says is that for the service team? So I presume we have one for Mr Dodson's and Mr Holmes's teams directorate, so to speak. So is that what that means?
Sorry, what page, Councillor Stan?
Page 72.
Thank you.
So what I'm actually asking is that when the corporate plan obviously has been adopted, which is what we have, is it been, or the work is being noted behind the scenes, and this is what's going to produce these reports in future? Do you know what I mean?
Monsieur, so you're going to come back on that?
Yeah, so as part of our annual cycle this year, we've launched a new mechanism where we have 8 service plans. So the individual services have their own service plan, and that identifies how they're going to contribute to delivery of the corporate plan. And it also identifies KPIs. So when we go through things like the balanced scorecard exceptions, the data for that comes within the service plans. So those service plans are the activity that's then driving the corporate performance reporting that's coming back to members as well. And it's all part of that corporate golden thread. So it's that, you know, you've got the corporate plan, we've got service plans about how we deliver, and then each member of staff's got their individual SMART objectives about how they contribute to their service plan, so that it all filters up and down.
Thank you. Does that, yes, you want to come back?
That's excellent, because I know I think I attended a couple of meetings and there were scrums, not scums.
Not
Sorry.
scums, Councillor Stan.
Oh, you know what I
really
meant.
hope not.
But long time, when they first started a few years ago or whatever, when I was a leader, and they were really good. So that to me was I'm so struggling with my words. It's like a benchmark. So it's actually, so both sides of the directorate have been measured on the same terms, is it? So you've got some programme behind that, you know, if we wanted as a member to say, how is that report being produced? There is that, it is actually being behind the scenes, as I call, because I'm a bit of a person to like to know the information.
You like to dig deep into detail,
like to do,
Councillor Stan,
because it's really important that information is being given. So if somebody does want to drill down to the data, and I know some people like it to be high level and others don't, but I think for this corporate plan to be a success, and that golden thread we heard about, and every time we speak about the golden thread, about the corporate plan, it's a golden thread. But as long as that's been managed and it's been reported, I presume the directors, I'm waiting for a nod, would sign these things off, would they, or whatever? And it's actually been a success, is it? That's all I'm asking.
Do you want to come back, Mr. Dawson?
Yes, those service plans were all put in place as per, you know, what was set out in the corporate plan and the golden thread. So all of those service plans were delivered, and as you know, Ms. Hughes said, they feed into the SMART objectives of all of the staff, but also there are highlight reports for each of those service plans each month, which come through to CLT, so that if there are issues with the delivery or decisions that need to be made to remove any barriers to delivery, you know, it gives us that route to have a good overview of everything that's going on in terms of the delivery of the corporate plan.
Of course.
Yeah, because I think that's really important, then that all those decisions and any problems are being done before it comes to members. So if people like me who's a pain can turn around and ask the question, you'll go, yes, Councillor Stamp, it's already been done X, Y and Z, which, you know, I think it's important for members to be able to ask that sort of level of detail. Thanks.
Super. Thank you very much. Members, can we move forward and agree this by assent, please? That's great. Agreed. Thank you very much. Now, I believe I'm on agenda item 11. 10. See, making sure you're all, keeping you all on your toes, members. Just checking that you're focusing. So that's the balanced scorecard exceptions report, which you'll find on pages 75 to 96. And yet again, Ms. Hughes, over to you, please.
So this report details the areas of operational performance where we're seeing exceptions, and that covers both under and over performance. Internally, the leadership team monitor this data and discuss it monthly to help address performance issues in real time where possible. And then a 6 monthly report is provided to this committee to show exceptions. This report covers January to June 2023. So section 3.4 of your report shows a table of underperforming areas and the actions that are being taken around these. and section 3.5 highlights 2 indicators where we are overperforming. Section 3.6 also shows an area where closer monitoring is taking place at the moment. Members are invited to review and comment on the report and confirm assurance that operational performance is being managed effectively. And in closing, I also want to highlight that there's just a note really that on page 95 of your agenda papers, within the planning statistics, there is a planning appeal here that's marked as decided by South Eastern Planning Committee, but it was actually a district planning committee decision. So that error will be corrected and changed in future reporting. So I just wanted to note that that's an error in the papers.
Many thanks, Ms Hughes, and thank you for highlighting that. That's really helpful. Thank you. So, yeah, the recommendations, little 1, that the committee review and comment on exceptions to service reporting provided in this report. Little 2, that members note the additional performance in Appendix 1. Little 3, that members confirm that they are assured through this review that operational performance is being managed effectively. I so move. And I have a seconder in Councillor Thompson. Thank you very much. Members. Councillor Stills.
Yeah, I just want to question page 75, the reviews of benefits and revs and the time taken. And it says, although a decrease seen in processing time in May, previous months saw a steady time increase due to system issues. Have those system issues been resolved, and have those that time actually increased rather than keep on decreasing? And I think it might be Miss Green, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure whoever wants to have a go at that. Miss Green, thank you.
Thank you, members. Yes, I'm pleased to say the system issues have been resolved. It was at a time when, just after we send the council tax bills out, that our residents had lots of changes of circumstances as well, so we have an increase in work. So that, coupled with the systems issues, did cause us an issue. However, I'm pleased to say that we are back on track, and as of the end of August, we're at 7.6 days.
That's good news. Thank you very much, Mrs Green. Thank you. Councillor Stan.
I do apologise, members, but I'm interested in page 76, human resources and sickness data. Obviously, this council, I can't remember how many years ago, the sickness level was brilliant. It was really low. Everybody worked really hard, and there was hardly any sickness. I think it was, I can't remember, it was just post-COVID. I can't remember now. I am concerned with this, but I also know it's a national issue. It's not just an Essex issue. It's not just a Maldon district issue. But what are we doing to safeguard and look after our staff? Because obviously some people, when it's been debated, especially members of the public, will say, well, hang on a minute, a lot of them were working from home. Why are they getting stressed? They don't have to go in the office. They haven't got all those sort of challenges like what they used to have. And I know I've certainly been an advocate and saying I think a lot more work should come back into the office, but then that's not my decision, but there are reasons for saying that. So what are we doing to help and safeguard our team? Is it because they're overworked and overstressed? Is it because we don't have the resources? What is it? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Who would like to come back? I can sense Mr Dodson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the sickness level and sickness rate has gone up at this council, as it has nationally, as you noted. And it is disappointing the level that it's at. It did come down to virtually zero at one point, which I think was wildly unusual, more so than the figure being where it is now. It's something that we work really hard on, both from a perspective of supporting staff, and we put the work in around the mental health support that we do, particularly if people are experiencing stress through work. And in terms of the working within the office is always available. We don't instruct people to work at home. We have a flexible working policy, and those that want to work in the office can work in the office. And obviously some people prefer the environment of the office, and there are issues with loneliness and isolation, which we make sure that we're addressing through the regular one-to-ones we have with staff, etc. We do also have the welfare package that covers all staff, so that there is support through for any staff that are going through difficulties as well, and that's available 24/7 throughout the year, and people are referred to that. We obviously have the occupational health support, you know, if people need to be referred into that. So there's a whole range of support that is available. I would note that the figures are slightly skewed. We do have a handful of cases of long-term sick at the moment, and in a small organisation that soon pushes your figures up. So we're working closely with those staff that are affected through that to support them through the issues they're facing and back into work. And probably finally worth saying, alongside all of the support we offer, we do run a Bradford score system, which does highlight when people are off sick. You know, if they go over certain days or certain incidences of sick, it flags it to the line manager and it triggers a meeting. We do meetings anyway when people come back from any time off sick, they have a return to work interview. However, if their Bradford score goes higher, it triggers to have a conversation for the manager to fully understand what's the cause of that. You know, it might be somebody's just caught a cold twice in 6 months and had to have a few days off at a time. But it helps us outline any underlying issues and support staff with those through the packages that I highlighted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dodson. Yeah, would you like to come back?
Do you think there's any correlation, because we are understaffed? We haven't got a full team. With sickness, it's putting more pressure on the actual full-time staff because we've maybe got contractors in.
Good question.
I wouldn't have evidence of that, or no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
absolutely.
that. Like you say, I couldn't substantiate.
Thank you. Any other members wish to comment? I'm going to go to Councillor Pratt. You haven't spoken yet, and then Councillor Stills.
Good evening, Chair. Just to come back on what Mr. Dodson says, it's an old chestnut to hide behind long-term sickness. Could we not, therefore, if you took the long-term sickness away, would you be well under the wire or just under the wire? Because I think long-term sick is always mentioned when we review these things. Would it be beneficial to members and yourself if you actually showed the two? This is the story as it is, because this is how we report it. If we were to take the long-term sick out, this is where we would be. I think that would be beneficial to us if we were made aware.
Would that be fairly easy to extrapolate, Mr. Dodson?
It's certainly something we can go away and look at, and I can't imagine that would be too difficult to come up with those figures.
If you could, thank you.
And if I could come back, that wasn't really my question, but I was just building on Councillor
Go on,
Stank's
then,
remark.
Councillor Pratt.
But again, another old chestnut is Miss Binns, and on page 77, in the explanation, it says overall this is less than 0.05%. Sort of saying, why are we worrying about this? But if it's an SLA, then we certainly are. My concern is not the number, but somewhere in that information should be the repeats.
Repeats, yeah.
If you only get your bin missed once a year, you shrug and you say that's life. But if it's the third time that your bin has been missed, then it's a problem, and it finishes up in our emails and saying,
It most
can you
certainly
sort
does,
it?
Councillor Pratt, mainly
So
in mine.
I would like somewhere in this report for the future to actually say, are there any repeats? Because it used to be, certainly in the rural areas, up the difficult lane, they skip past it, they don't bother, and I used to get emails saying, this is the fourth time in succession that I've not been collected. I'm now taking it down the tip. Can I have my money back, please? So, yeah, can we just change the report for the future, please?
We have a particular issue in Burnham with parking, and there's one particular road where many times someone's parked on the corner and the bin lorry can't get down it. So I'm absolutely agree there. Is that back to Ah, yes, Ms Wheatley, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I get to speak. That's lovely. Yes, we can absolutely report on that. That's no problem at all. We do go back, or while the sewers go back within 2 working days where there is a report of a missed bin. But certainly for those repeats, we can report on that. Yeah.
Super. Thank you very much. Councillor Stamp.
I'd like to congratulate the bin people, actually. No disrespect, one thing, because I think that's quite good.
It is,
you know,
isn't
to
it?
say how many houses and you chairs
really.
raised about parking and not being able to get down. I know that I think you've invested in smaller bin lorries, because that I think that was
there was an issue with
a
the
real
size
big
of them,
issue for missed bin collections. But on the whole, I don't have as many emails now. I don't know if Councillor Pratt gets them.
I'm going to touch wood,
I
Councillor
don't get as
Stamp,
many
because
as
you may
what
be
I used
tempting
to.
fate
So
there.
I'd like to congratulate them as well, because they do get a lot of stick back.
Thank you. I'd like to echo that as well. Thank you very much. Members, can we agree that? Oh, no, councillors. Yeah, were you agreeing or were you commenting?
No. I did have my hand up before, and you did say, "Well, I'll go to Councillor Stilts."
No, it's...
Mine was going to be partly about the missed bins, because it said there was 360 and 234 of those were justified. What does it mean by not justified? Also, could we also look at the ones where we actually collect the household, what was I say, potato peeling type, the food waste ones, because I know that I've had to report at least 2 or 3 times my neighbour's one being missed. So can we look at those as well?
Yes, that's absolutely fine. We do have weekly figures for missed bins, and we accept that there has been some staff turnover within sewers, which is why there's been missed bins, and they do tend to be the food waste that are missed. Sorry, your first question, Councillor Stilts?
It says that 360 were missed, but only 234 were justified.
Yes. So justified is where it was left out in the correct area. We do sometimes have reports of missed bins where it's an additional bin, it's not been left out, it could be a commercial waste bin, so those are ones that would not be justified. So we do have to look into those and investigate them, but where it is a justified missed bin, then they do go out within those 2 working days.
Thank you.
If we could report something like that,
Could you pop your microphone up?
If we could report something like that, that would be great, because then we could actually see, especially if it was commercial, and that. So that would give us an idea. I do have one other question, and it'll be for Miss Green, I think. It says areas of contact us, overdue cases, 164 cases as of 30 in June. Are we actually looking at getting that decreased? I know it says that whilst a decrease of overdue cases has been seen in the last 6 months, approximately 50% of those outstanding are pre-2023. So can we have an update on that, please?
Thank you. Over to you, Mrs Green.
Thank you, Chairman. So the contact us forms are inquiries that are made, and those are triaged. So our customer services team will try to answer them initially, and then they will be triaged through to the various services. So those will cover a range of different service areas. As the report says, there has been some strong work on the housekeeping of those. There is still more to do, but there has been some good work, and quite a lot of the inquiries, the older ones, are likely to have been responded to, but just not closed off on the system. So that's what that housekeeping work is there to finish that up. And yes, good progress is being made on those.
Super, thank you. Does that?
Yeah, that's great, thank you. And I'd like to thank all the officers for their hard work that they put into this.
Absolutely, thank you very much. And I'd like to apologise for forgetting you there, Councillor Stilts, because I did have you on my list. No, it wasn't. Members, can we agree that by assent, please? Lovely, thank you very much. And now we really are on agenda item 11, review of health and safety Q1, and unfortunately, Mr Baccarini hasn't made it, so, or has he? Oh, he has, there you are. Yes, there you are. Lovely to see you remotely, Mr Baccarini. So I'm going to pass over to you to present the report, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair. Yes, I present the health and safety statistics and key actions from Q1, starting on page 97, I believe, of the report. Of the accidents and incidents shown in section 3.1.1, there were 3, all were at a low level. 1 involved a member of the public. However, this was an unsubstantiated report involving a minor injury. Of the incidents of unacceptable behaviour shown in section 3.1.2, we had 5 reports, including 1 referral from a partner organisation regarding dangerous animals. 1 of the unacceptable behaviour incidents was received in person by a member of the waste crews. This was a threat of violence and was referred to the police. There have been no particular trends in accidents or incidents in the period or in reports of unacceptable behaviour detected, but these will continue to be monitored. Of the health and safety actions, work continued on the main themes. The table is presented in 3.2, giving a summary of these. Draft policies on first aid and personal evacuation were completed. Work on revising the existing policy on unacceptable behaviour is continuing. This will also involve work on the reporting system used by officers to make their reports of unacceptable behaviour. As mentioned in the previous report, forums are due to be established for the routine discussion of health and safety in the authority, and I believe these will help improve the focus. Terms of reference have been drafted, and these have been put to senior managers, and they're due to be discussed. We're aiming to get the right mix of day-to-day operational and longer-term strategic issues captured in each of these forums. Finally, ongoing inspections of different departments have commenced. Action plans have been devised in response to 2 mini audits of the 2 council depots, and visits have been undertaken at the leisure centres and waste depot. That is the conclusion of my report, and I just note the recommendations at the beginning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baccarini. I find this very encouraging, particularly the mini audits. I think it feels like we're going in the right direction with this. So thank you very much. So the recommendations, little 1, that members consider the accident and incident statistics. Little 2, that members consider progress of key health and safety themes as per section 3.2. And that members consider additional health and safety improvements being implemented in addition to those identified in the main health and safety themes. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Members, over to you. Yes, Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. First of all, as a member, I'd like to express sympathy for staff members who face abuse and aggression. I mean, nobody in a public-facing role who only wants to try and help people should have to tolerate that kind of behaviour. I've got a specific question about the house with the dangerous animals. I have to say, Chair, my imagination started to
Were there crocodiles, Councillor Spenceley?
Are we talking about a couple of Bengal tigers or half a dozen XL bullies?
Yeah.
So we've got reassurance that our staff are safe because they're advised not to visit, but this house will be visited by delivery people, tradesmen, postal workers, and the doors might not be secured. And I know all this stuff about dangerous dogs has some of the trappings of moral panics in the silly season in the summer. Nevertheless, you know, really horrible things have happened involving dangerous animals. So can we know what animals are involved and if any other agencies are involved with dealing with this?
Are we allowed to be specific under data protection about that, Mr. Baccarini?
Good point.
I was, in this particular instance, I was asked to sanitise that and remove the reference because there is a case ongoing with one of our partners, so it's maybe more anonymous.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I did suspect that might be the case, but it appears action is being taken, which is the important thing. So thank you. Anybody else? No. Then can we agree by assent, members? Agreed. Marvellous. Thank you very much, Mr. Baccarini. I'm sorry you got stuck in traffic and I Didn't realise you'd made it yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that moves us on to item 12, which is the UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Funds, which is on pages 103 to 108. So it's over to you, Ms Cable, for this, please.
Thank you. And if it's acceptable to you, Chair, I'll run through the items under 3.1 first.
Yes, and then we're going to take questions. Sorry, I actually have that on my prompt and I completely forgot.
That's
so
fine.
yeah, we're going to take a break and Ms Cable's going to answer questions after we've reached 3.1.6 because there may be a lot. So thank you.
As members will recall from the last report, Maldon District received £1 million allocation from the UK Share Prosperity Fund as part of the government's Levelling Up allocation. As per the report provided to committee on the 15th of June, due to government delays, a request was submitted to reprofile the underspend from 2022 to 2023 to the current financial year. We were very pleased once this was approved. Appendix 1 of the report sets out the projects being delivered via the funding over the 3-year period, of which we have circa 18 months left, and projects continue to be delivered on time and within tolerance despite delays in receiving the funding. Where projects are not being progressed due to feasibility, funding will be reallocated to other existing projects within the investment plans. With the current economic climate and the cost of doing business increasing, it's prudent to ensure all projects align to our corporate plan and deliver its priorities. To date, at writing the report, circa £168,000 have been committed to the progression of projects and agreed costs for management and administration. That's the conclusion of that part.
Thank you. So, members, any questions on the first part of Ms Cable's report? Councillor Stamp?
Yeah, forgive me if I'm got mixed up as usual. So, are we looking at Appendix 1? We've not looked at Appendix 1. I just want to know if
That's correct.
Right, so has any of the schemes slipped financially? Are they still on course financially to be delivered?
Sorry, microphones, if you could. Sorry, that's... no. Councillor Stamp, on? No, are you finished?
Yeah. Oh, basically, you know what I'm asking, is it on?
Ms Cable, on, please, thank you.
All the projects are reporting in accordance with what we'd budgeted, and as noted in the report on section 3.1.5, where they haven't been feasible, such as the bid feasibility study. The bid feasibility study was unfeasible. The funding for that was reallocated to the Supporting Local Business programme, which members will recognise as a key priority in our Helping the Economy to Thrive priority. In terms of other larger projects where there is additional costs that are being incurred, we will of course look at the projects that are being delivered already within that have not started but are scheduled to be delivered with the investment plan to ensure that the larger, more high value projects can be delivered. And where modifications can be made through sensible discussion with the officers who are responsible for delivery, then that will be the case. For example, if something that's red costs more in that colour, maybe we could do it in pink because it's cheaper or something like that. So you still get the same product, but there's slight amendments to perhaps the design or the material, etc., without that being of detriment to the project itself.
Yes, Councillor Stamp, do you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you. So for example, I'm going to use a specific project because it's easier for everybody then to relate to. And I'm going to pick on one that I know very well, which is the Burnham-on-Crouch pontoon. So if that's because of the way the officers chose to progress that project to be delivered, say for example, worst case scenario, because I am a bit like a negative ninny sometimes and a bit of a realist, if that is going to come in over budget, or it's not going to be delivered to the same spec as what we members most probably was led to believe at the time, would members be consulted again regarding a revised schedule or revised drawing or whatever it's going to be? Because what I think I'm concerned about, £1 million sounds a lot of money, but it's not when you're doing some big projects, and it's very easy to overrun. And I can remember asking at that particular meeting, how often has this council delivered on budget for any of its projects? And the answer I got was none. And I did actually ask for evidence and I've had nothing. So forgive me, I'm not saying it is going to overrun, but I'm very cautious because I know how easily it is in today's economic climate for projects that is most probably going to be scrapped, possibly scrapped or reduced because of potential overruns. So can you give us any assurance that they are being monitored? Sorry, Chairman, but I think it's really, Madam Chair.
We don't want our own HS2, Councillor Stamp, do we? So, no, absolutely. Ms Cable, which is a bit shorter than HS2. Yeah, hopefully. Ms Cable, would you like to come back on that?
Well, I hope to buck that trend and deliver this project on time.
All power to your elbow.
And so what I am doing is working extremely closely with the officer delivering this project and have been involved with meetings with them. They're going through revised costings analysis at the minute with the architects that we're working with, and beginning that process of the nice to haves versus the absolute critical must haves. And I understand there will be a ward member briefing coming up shortly where those options can be discussed as well.
That's great, thank you. And can I just request, as always, with the Big Burnham projects and issues, that you make it both wards, because we all get the same items in our email inboxes, don't we? Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Thank you, Ms Cable. So if there are no more questions on the first part, I'll go back to you for part two, please.
So this part of the report is slightly longer because I appreciate some of the newer members won't be as familiar with the Rural England Prosperity Fund as some of our previous members. So the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, published the Rural England Prosperity Fund prospectus in September 2022, which came as a bit of a surprise to all local authorities. The prospectus confirmed that Maldon District Council had been allocated just over £430,000 to be spent by March 2025. The REP, as it's known, is integrated into the UK Share Prosperity Fund, which supports productivity and prosperity in places that need it most. For eligible local authorities such as Maldon District Council, the REP is a rural top-up to UK SPF allocations. It supports activities and specifically addresses the challenges rural areas faced. As agreed at Strategy and Resources Committee on the 10th of November 2022, the development of the investment plan was delegated to the Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance in consultation with the Leader of the Council and the Chairman of Strategy and Resources Committee. The submitted investment plan was approved by DEFRA and confirmed support for, under supporting local business, funding in the form of capital grants for small-scale investment in micro and small enterprises, and under supporting rural communities, funding of capital grants for rural circular economy projects, and funding for impactful volunteering and social action projects to develop social and human capital in local places. Unlike the UK Share Prosperity Fund, the Council does not receive any additional management and administration funding to support the delivery, but officers have proactively secured additional funding from Magnox for this element of the programme over a 2-year period. This funding has facilitated the Council in partnering with the Rural Community Council of Essex and ensuring organisations and applicants have a dedicated resource to support them. Officers are working with RCCE to develop the eligibility and awarding criteria for the funding, with the programme expected to open in autumn 2023.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Proactive work going on there as well, which is excellent. So the recommendation is that the committee acknowledges the update provided on Maldon District's UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Fund allocations and continues to monitor the delivery. I so move. Thank you for seconding, Councillor Thompson. So members, over to you. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Stamp.
Thank you. I'd like to say well done. I mean, because I think this council's been very good at getting grants. We've always run, what's the old saying, a sour silk purse, sour ear, or whatever the old saying is.
Making a silk purse.
You know what I mean, don't you? You run a silk.
You make a silk purse out of sour ear.
Yeah. And I think this council actually does that, especially when it comes to finding grants. And I think they've done really, really well. And I think it might be really nice in the future when these have been delivered, that a presentation is done to this committee or whichever committee to say we've achieved this by doing this. Because yet again, I think this was said at some sort of meeting, I don't know which meeting it was of this council, we're all very good at saying what we don't do well. We're very bad at saying what we do well. And I think this is really, you know, for you to be still looking, this council be to looking to get grants to actually deliver these things on behalf of our residents, maybe do need to be shouted a little bit more, because some of us are quite hard taskmasters and we do ask difficult questions of you. But I think you've done really well, as long as you deliver the pontoon on time and on price.
No pressure, Ms Cable, there. Thank you, Councillor Stamp. But anybody else, or are we happy just to... oh, Councillor Dawson, yes, of course.
Thanks, Councillor Stamp beat me to it. That was, you know, so well done, very excellent, clear report as always, and thank you for the work, and thank you for finding the extra funding where it isn't provided by the other, and you know, not making an extra, you know, resource needed from our own officers. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So members, thank you again. Ms Cable, members, can we agree that by saying? Super, thank you very much, which brings us on to agenda item 13. Any other items of business that the chairman of the committee decides are urgent? There are none. So at this point, I'd like to say officers, with the exception of Paul, Mr Butcher always gets the late shift. Officers, if you wish to leave now, please feel free to do so. And thank you very, very much, everyone, for your contributions and for the moral support of those of you who've not contributed. Thank you. Okay, item 14, to exclusion of the public and press, to resolve that under section 100A, bracket 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve a likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A to the Act, and that this satisfies the public interest test. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. So, support team, if we could have the live stream off, please.